Welcome to Coast Legal Aid's Clinic on Public Benefits. My name is Courtney Magnus. I'm the supervising attorney for the Economic Advocacy and Community Health, or EACH unit, here at Coast Legal Aid. We do a lot of public benefits work in our unit, so we're very excited to present this clinic to you today. Today, we are going to be going over SNAP, or better known as food stamps, Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act, and Social Security disability. There is a lot to cover in all of these areas, so we're not going to be able to go over every single detail, but we are going to try to give you a good overview. We have a lot of great guests lined up for you today. We have Bill Montgomery from the Area Agency on Aging of Broward County. We also have Carolina Urichaga from Hispanic Unity, Myra Hernandez, Aura Andrade, Katie Reyes, and Gloria Torres, all from Hispanic Unity. They're from the income support unit over there. And we have Margaret Kosick, who is a senior attorney here at Coast Legal Aid, who works on healthcare issues. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. So the first area that we're going to talk about is food stamps. And I should mention, if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat and we'll try to address them as they come up. So first of all, let's just start out with, what is SNAP, or what are food stamp benefits? Bill, do you want to start off with that one?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Welcome. SNAP benefits, or is it more commonly known as food stamps? The name was changed to try and get rid of any stigma that might be associated with the term food stamps. It's a federally funded program, which is administered by each state, and the state of Florida has its own unique rules, as most states do. And it's simply a way to help people in need receive some funding, some financial benefit to be able to go to the store and purchase food items. There are some restrictions on that. You can't purchase things like alcohol, tobacco, or non-food items such as paper goods and things like that.
Great. And so if someone wanted to get food stamps, how would they go about applying for food stamps?
So there's several ways you can apply for food stamps. You can apply directly with Department of Children and Families, which is the department in the state of Florida that administers food stamps. You can do that by going online to myflorida.com and filling out an application online. You can go to the DCF office, which is on Oakland Park Boulevard in Fort Lauderdale, or there are several agencies, including the agency I'm with, the Area Agency on Aging of Broward County, who will help you fill out an application. We do a phone interview. As long as you, for us, as long as you're a senior, 60 years of age or older, and you live in Broward County, we can assist you. Now, that's not a requirement for SNAP, for applying for SNAP. You can certainly apply for SNAP if you're not a senior. But for our agency, you need to be 60 years of age and older and living in Broward County. We set up an appointment with you, and we're able to fill out the application online, submit it to Department of Children and Families. And once they receive it, they generally will ask for additional information. I've rarely seen an application where they didn't ask for some type of verification of the information that was presented to them. There is a deadline for that it is very strictly adhered to by DCF. And once they receive all their information, at this point in time, it's generally somewhere between 4 to 10 weeks before eligibility can be confirmed. And you'll be notified of what that eligibility is. It's all based on income, and it's based on assets and need.
Okay, so Bill got us started there covering a lot of good information. I think, Katie, you also work on food stamps. Can you tell us a little bit more about what the application process is like?
Yes, the application process is like the same. He already mentioned it. We just online made the application for the customer, and then they ask you for some paper. Almost the time is the income for whole family, and then sometimes they ask you to for phone interview. And then the case manager let the client know if they approve or not the application.
Okay, great. And Are there any, timelines where DCF is supposed to respond to people within a certain period of time?
I'm not aware of a given time frame that they are obligated to apply. I know online information from DCF says they try to update you on information within 30 days of your application, and that does happen in some instances. I think just right now that there's just so much need in the state of Florida, so many people are applying that it's put a little bit, it made the process a little bit slower. Where the timelines really come into play is when they're asking for more information from you. They're really pretty. It's not very flexible when they need the information from you because they're trying to get your application processed as quickly as possible to get the assistance out there. So when they say March 2nd, they mean March 2nd.
Right. So DCF is actually supposed to respond to applications within 30 days, but like you were saying, it's been a bit of a slower process sometimes for some people lately. And you mentioned a little bit some things that DCF may ask for, like maybe pay stubs. So what is DCF really looking at when they're trying to decide if someone can get food stamps and how much they're going to get? Anyone is free to answer.
Well, I'll take for when you're applying for SNAP, there's some things you're going to need. They're going to need proof of citizenship. For the state of Florida, you're going to need to prove that you reside in the state of Florida. They're looking for a social security number. So either you have social security card or you have applied for one and you can prove that. They're looking for any monthly expenses. And generally that means like shelter expenses or health expenses. So yes, DCF, much like all of us knows that groceries have gone up and gas has gone up. But that's not in consideration when you're applying for SNAP benefits. But they are looking at deductions, including housing, HOA payments, mortgage insurance, utilities, medical expenses that are outstanding right now, not what you're facing in the future, but what you have right now, vision and dental expenses and things like that. They're looking at also. They want to know monthly income information for everyone who resides in the house. And they want all this information actually for everyone who lives in the house. So it's not just you because you're applying. If you live with family members, even children who live in the house need to provide this type of information, such as social security card, etc. They want to know income. So whether it's from a job or from an annuity, a pension, social security check that you receive each month, you're going to need to know that information. You're going to need to know amounts that you have in the bank in terms of checking or savings accounts, or again, annuities or investments. They don't necessarily need to know your account numbers. They're not going to be asking for that, but they're going to want to know other types of information, life insurance policies, things like that.
Right. So I think it's fair to say that basically DCF is looking at all the income that you have, both earned and unearned, and then they deduct, these expenses that you said were qualifying expensive, and that's how they kind of come to their conclusion about whether you're eligible and how much you're going to get.
Correct. Yeah. What it really comes down to at the end is, a lot of people will call us and they'll ask and they'll say, listen, I think I make too much money. But what it really comes down to is income versus expenses. So yes, there is, they are looking at a certain percentage of the national poverty level when they're looking at your income and what would be too much. But, we have seen people who bring in a certain amount that we think and look at the application, well, that's too high. They're not going to get approved, and they do get approved. So again, they're looking at, you might receive $2,000 a month, let's say, in income. But if your expenses are $1,800 a month, that's going to, oddly enough, work in your favor in terms of this. It's not a guarantee. There are no guarantees when applying for this type of assistance. But, I say to everyone who asks a question, should I apply? I kind of ask them some basic questions. Are you having difficulty obtaining healthy food on a regular basis? Are you using your food shopping budget to cover other expenses that are costing more? Are you existing only on a social security check? Do you have less than $3,000 in a checking and savings account? And if you can answer yes to all of those questions, or even some of them, then you should apply, because there's no penalty for being denied. They're not going to start looking at you a little closer or something like that. So, the assistance is out there, and if you really need it, you should apply for it.
Carolina,
One of the things that I want to mention is that, you know, you were saying that you only take applications for people over 60. So, you know, and only if they live in Broward County. And one thing that I want to mention here in Hispanic Unity, we do, doesn't matter if you live in Miami, Broward, any age, you know, Kathy, Mayra, and Aura, they do the application for the client. So it doesn't matter what age or where do they live. You know, we have people, clients for Mayra that come from Pompano Beach, like really far, people that don't speak English, and she, you know, support all these clients.
Okay. You know, Ara, Myra, or Kadi, do you guys have any, you know, input you want to add on who you think should be applying for benefits or what DCF is looking for? No? Okay. So
Myra, I think Myra was trying to speak, but he was muted.
Oh, okay. There we
Yes.
She was muted, sorry.
go. All right, great. We're happy to have you.
Okay. In us office, apply with somebody had a parole, somebody coming for Haiti or coming for Central America, apply for food stamp and Medicaid, and children and family find their case and approve for that, for these people.
Okay. So for all of you that work on food stamp applications, how do you know who you should include in your application? Who is in your food stamp household? If I live with a roommate, do I have to apply with my roommate?
No,
No.
So who should I include then?
family. Family.
Anyone who benefits from any award that is given by the state needs to be included. The reason that in the situation of a roommate, or let's say that you rent a room in someone's house, it's assumed that you take your meals alone, you do your shopping for yourself. But if you take meals together and someone would benefit from the award that you receive, then they must be included in the application.
All right. We usually say, you know, if you buy and prepare food together, then
Yes.
you should be on the same application. So are there any work requirements? Do people who get food stamps have to work?
No, you're not required to work to receive. There are work requirements for people age 18 to 59. I'm going to say honestly, since I work with seniors, I'm not as familiar with those rules, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about that. But no, you can be working and you still receive, you know, benefits, SNAP benefits. Yeah, absolutely. You don't need to be retired. You don't need to be unemployed in order to get that.
Does anyone who works with non-seniors want to share a little bit more about the, we call them ABOD requirements? Okay, so there are requirements, they call them the ABOD requirements for people 18 through 49 who are not exempt. So, you know, if you're caring for a child or you're disabled, you may be exempt from these requirements, but if you're not, then you have to either work or volunteer 80 hours or more per month, or there's a time limit for how long you can actually get food stamps.
And ABOD is able-bodied working adults.
Yes. Are there any changes that people who are getting food stamps should make sure they're reporting to DCF?
So households need to report when their total monthly gross income exceeds, I believe it's 130% of the federal poverty level for their household size, or and there's a requirement for able-bodied adults. I think if they fall below the 80 hours a month that you were just mentioning, that needs to be reported, and they need to be reported, I believe it's within 10 days after the end of the month that the change occurred in.
Right. Okay. Does anyone have any other, you know, final comments about applying for food stamps that they want to share? I see Ara raising her hand. Are you able to? There we go.
Okay. No, I don't. I have just a question.
Sure.
It's not about food stamp. It's about Medicare. I don't know if we are in time we can ask
So we're
about
gonna
that.
go into that a little bit later.
Okay,
Medicaid or Medicare?
Medicare.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, maybe we should, do you want to just go ahead and touch on
Okay.
that? Now we had been, we were gonna focus primarily on Medicaid and Marketplace. What is your question?
No, I would like to know, I would like to know how you can help us to the application for Medicare and disability. I know we don't do that, here. We just do Medicaid and Marketplace. But we need we need to give you like a contact person,
Mhm.
how you help them,
Yeah,
because
so
a lot of people.
we work with both seniors and disabled individuals who are eligible for Medicare, and we can advise them on whether they are eligible or not and how to apply. And if they're having any difficulties with that, and who to contact. Generally, Social Security Medicare goes through Social Security Administration.
The only way
Um,
is go to the office, to Social Security office.
Well, I mean, you can have people contact us, our intake staff, and then we can advise them on like I said, their eligibility and the process. But there are sometimes Medicare comes automatically. So if you're already getting Social Security retirement, or you're already if you're already getting Social Security disability, then it will be automatic at a certain time period, depending on your age or how long you've been getting benefits. If you're not getting Social Security benefits, then you may have to apply. So for example, somebody's not full retirement age yet, but they just turned 65, they would have to, and they're not getting early retirement, they would have to apply for Medicare with Social Security.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So turning back to food stamps, any final thoughts? Maybe Bill, do you want to wrap us up on food stamps?
Well, I think I'll just reiterate what I did before. If anyone is feeling that they are in need, they are having trouble paying, getting groceries on a regular basis, then, you should contact someone, contact us or the area agency. If you're 60 or above, if you're 18 years of age or older with a disability, we'll be happy to answer questions to assist you as best we can. Or if not, reach out to DCF to get your questions answered. But right now with the time frame to get approved, if you're thinking you might want to do it, now would be the time to do it, because again, it's not going to be immediate assistance. Applying today isn't going to get you any help for this weekend. So just kind of be aware of that within the time frame.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Bill.
Sure.
I will just mention there are some ways that you can have your application expedited. So if, for example, you have less than $150 in gross income and less than $100 in liquid assets, or your monthly gross income and assets are less than your rent or mortgage, you can request that your application be expedited, and DCF is actually supposed to respond within 7 days to that.
Oh, that's great news.
And as Carolina mentioned, you can also reach out to people who are not seniors, can reach out to Hispanic
Yes.
Unity. Or if you have questions about food stamps, you can also reach out to CCLA as well. All right, so I think we're going to move on to Medicaid, since we have a lot to cover here today. So Margaret, can you just tell us what Medicaid is?
Yes, so Medicaid is free health insurance provided through a federal state partnership to people with low income. There are several types of Medicaid, but the one that most people think of is full health coverage Medicaid.
And so can anyone tell us, who is eligible for Medicaid? Do you have to fit within a certain category to get Medicaid in Florida?
So yeah, traditionally, you have to have a categorical connection in order to qualify for full Medicaid. And because Medicaid is needs-based, there's an income limit for each category. So for example, you need to be a child, a parent of a minor child, a pregnant woman, a disabled, blind, or elderly. The Affordable Care Act actually expanded Medicaid so that anybody who has low income, regardless of category, should qualify. However, the US Supreme Court said that states were able to choose whether to expand Medicaid, and Florida has chosen not to. So in Florida, you do still have to fit into a certain category, and you have to fit that particular income requirement. So for example, a single parent may have a much lower income limit than her child would.
Okay, great. Does anyone have anything they want to add to that? No? All right, great. I guess Margaret just covered it so well. So how would someone wanting to apply for Medicaid, how would they apply?
Let's let Hispanic Unity take that one, since you're working on those applications.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, they come to our office and fill it out the application. And we fill it out through the Access Florida. We open the account for them. And we just fill it out, the application, and send the application, send it to the DCF. And they will answer between 1 to 2 weeks. They send you a letter to request some paperwork, extra additional paperwork that they need to send by fax, or if we can upload the document through the Access Florida. And we just wait for the answer with the letter. And most of them, when they are, over 65, they are citizen or resident for more than 5 years and 1 day, and low income, they was approved. But sometimes in the last 2 weeks, I see like 2-3 cases with all people, senior people, deny Medicaid with the low income and citizen and with the age. And my question, I would like to ask if you have a contact for deny Medicaid, like when.
Yes, yeah, we so our intake paralegal is Manuela, and then she will assign the cases to us, the advocates who handle the Medicaid. So we definitely can help with Medicaid denials. Usually what we do is we will analyze their account, see if we can figure out why they're denied, and we may reach out to DCF and get more information. If we can't get it resolved, then informally, then we will help them to appeal.
Okay, thank you. Another survey of the Medicaid is the MSP, Medicare Saving Program. That when the senior come and say they take it out my $180 approximately from my Social Security check, we offer to apply for the service too. And
yeah,
one of the service.
And if you ever get any denials on that, we also can help on that. I work with both seniors and individuals under 60. So that and any other type of Medicaid, long-term care, all those different types of Medicaid, we can help with that.
Okay, thank you.
And so Aura, I think you mentioned that you can apply online through Access with DCF, which is also a way you can apply for food stamps. So can people actually apply for both Medicaid and food stamps at the same time?
Correct. Yes, they do. They can apply for both of them in the same time. And also Medicare Saving Program and long term also. And for cash assistance, all the benefit that they offer.
Great. So people may have seen on the news that, Medicaid rules are going to be changing coming up. There's, some major Medicaid events coming up. Maybe Carolina, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on with that?
Yes, basically we have been, the government has been carrying all this COVID people that apply, and they're kind of, I'm assuming, cleaning the system and see who's eligible and who's not. So they're asking everybody that's in Medicaid right now to access their account and to make sure their contact information it's correct, because they're gonna be getting letters for to check in, if your income has changed, if any situation in your family has changed, because they're seeing that there's a lot of people that, they don't meet the qualification and they're still in Medicaid. So it's very important right now that everybody access their account. I ordered some brochures from Medicaid that tells you exactly the 3 steps that they have to do in order to make sure when they are notified that they have all those address, phone, email correct, in order, if they're getting a notification, to reapply and to continue with their service.
So,
Margaret?
and I wanted to mention that in Broward County, over 150,000 people became eligible for Medicaid during the public health emergency. And the state was through an agreement with the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the federal agency. The state of Florida agreed to continue Medicaid throughout the public health emergency. So anybody who was eligible at any point during the public health emergency still has Medicaid. However, that public health emergency is going to expire soon, and the Department of Children and Families is going to begin the unwind process beginning in April 1st. So it's possible, we don't know the exact date of the terminations, but it's possible that people could start being terminated at the end of the month, at the end of April. So anyone who became eligible and has had continued Medicaid they do need to pay attention to any notices they get in the mail or email. And if they get any notices that they're not sure about, please contact us. We can advise them on whether they're gonna still be eligible after the end of the public health emergency. And if not, what possible options there may be. They may be eligible for the health insurance marketplace subsidies now, or they may be eligible for hospital financial assistance programs. So we can advise them and send them in the right direction.
Okay. And so is everyone going to get those notices in April, or will some people maybe get them later?
It's not clear at this point. I mean, some people are starting to get notices now that tell them that it looks like they're ineligible, but they're getting continued Medicaid through the public health emergency. Anybody who gets that type of notice that says that it looks like they're ineligible, they definitely need to update their application and make sure that their contact information is in. So like I said, it's not really clear exactly. We've spoken to DCF and they said they don't have an exact date of the terminations yet.
Right. And I think it is going to be a bit of a process over roughly a year where DCF is going to be reviewing everyone. So, for some people, their notices may not come in April, it may be later. So you need to keep an eye out for that. Okay, so you gave us a good transition into the Affordable Care Act. Margaret mentioned that as a possibility if you do, lose Medicaid at the end of the public health emergency. So can you just tell us a little bit about, what is the Affordable Care Act and the health insurance marketplace?
Does anybody else want to start with that one, Carolina?
Okay.
Andrew?
Okay. Marketplace, the insurance marketplace, is insurance that is a marketplace financial assistant for depending on the poverty levels and eligibility break. Okay, and we're gonna have they call a, let me see, they call a time provided, like marketplace special enrollment period, CEP, for qualification individual and their family who lost Medicaid and CHIP, like or kid care. We're gonna open enrollment between for especially for this period, March 31st, 2023 until July 31st, 2024. Marketplace is open to anyone, who lost Medicaid or they have a low income too, but depend on the poverty levels, because it's most of the people working have a job and they apply for insurance. And the marketplace is let's see, is not free, let's say. Well, sometimes it depends your income in the house size and how many house size is in home. Okay, it's gonna depend. Sometimes you get an insurance for zero deductible. Sometimes you have to pay. Okay, and also they offer some dental and health insurance for marketplace.
Okay, great start.
So yeah, I just wanted to mention that, so in order, the Affordable Care Act was basically required states to create what's called an exchange or a healthcare supermarket where individuals and families can shop for health insurance. And the federal government provides subsidies through these exchanges to lower the cost of coverage. Some states could opt out and check and select the federally facilitated marketplace to step in and run the program. And the federally facilitated marketplace is officially the health insurance marketplace. It's online at healthcare.gov. And anybody whose income is above what's called 100% of the federal poverty level can qualify for the premium tax credits to lower the monthly premiums. So for example, for an individual, if your income is $13,590 per year or above, then you're going to be eligible for those premium tax credits. If you're in a family of 4 and your income is $27,750 or above, then you're going to be eligible for those subsidies. And there are some exceptions. So for example, with anybody who's ineligible for Medicaid due to their immigration status, they can actually get the subsidies if their income is below those numbers I just mentioned.
Okay, great.
And also, I'm sorry, and also I would like to add, the people who apply and they have 90 days to send all the paperwork, the immigration paperwork, because sometimes they don't have they gonna receive another paperwork from immigration. The marketplace give you 90 days to apply.
Right. Yeah, so yeah, that's basically if there's a data, what's called a data inconsistency. So when you apply, you state on your application what your immigration status is, but if the health insurance marketplace can't verify that through their data hub, through communicating with Social Security and IRS and other agencies, then they're going to ask you to provide that proof. And you have to either upload it into your online account or send it in the mail. And like she said, you have 90 days to respond to those verification notices.
And does that happen just with immigration status, or could that be other type of information?
Yeah, it's also income as well. So if you say that you have a certain amount of income, but the Data Services Hub shows that you don't have that income, then the marketplace is going to ask you to verify that. One thing though is that if your income is below the required amount, so for example, if you're an individual and your income is below 13,590, the marketplace is no longer allowed to ask you for verification that your income is above that amount. It's a little complicated, but and let's just suffice it to say that sometimes the marketplace will not be asking you for verification.
Okay. And so we've mentioned the assistance with premiums. Is there any other sort of like cost sharing reductions available
Yep.
through the marketplace?
Yeah, so that's for anybody whose income is below what's called 250% of the poverty level. That lowers deductibles, out-of-pocket maximum, co-pays, co-insurance.
And so to get those, do you have to purchase a certain type of plan to be able to get those reductions?
Any plan that's a qualified health plan on the marketplace is going to provide either the premium lower subsidies with the premium tax credits or the cost sharing reductions.
What about the cost sharing reductions? Do you have to get a silver plan or?
Oh, right.
those
Yeah.
on top
Sorry.
tiers?
Yes, you do have to purchase. Thanks for reminding me. You do have to get a silver plan. You cannot get a bronze or platinum or a gold plan to get those cost sharing reductions.
Okay. And Carolina, you're nodding your head. Do you have anything to add?
The only thing that I want to ask is that right now we're in a special, enrollment period. If somebody, lost their job or if something changed in their family, they have a kid now, they are, they can apply to the marketplace because it's a special event. So right now we can offer that under the marketplace.
Yeah,
Is
generally open
I was
enrollment is, open enrollment is generally November 1st through January 15th. So the special, if you want to enroll after January 15th and before the next open enrollment period in November, then you have to get a special enrollment period. And so like Carolina was saying, but there is going to be a special enrollment period for the Medicaid terminations, and if there's any other life event, so if you moved from a different service area, or you had a child, or you got married, or you lost your health coverage, then you may qualify for a special enrollment period.
Okay, great. And so if someone gets the premium tax credits or the cost sharing reductions, do they have to file taxes at the end of the year?
Yes, so if you accept the tax credits, then you do have to agree to file tax credits, and then you reconcile those tax credits that you received earlier in the year when you file your taxes.
And so what happens if, your income for the year is actually higher than what you had reported on your marketplace application?
So you may end up having to pay back some of those tax credits. However, there are caps on that. So, if you have lower income, you may not have to pay that much back.
And so, Margaret, I think you mentioned that some people, their income is too low to get the tax, the premium assistance. But maybe their income is too high, or they don't fit into one of these categories for Medicaid. Do people in Broward County have any health coverage options if they're in that situation?
Yeah, you're describing what we call the coverage gap. So anybody who's in the coverage gap, whose income is too low to qualify for the marketplace subsidies, and who doesn't fit into a category, or whose income is too high for Medicaid, they can get hospital financial assistance. So in North Broward, Broward Health Moped, you can see it's Broward Health's financial assistance program, where individuals can see doctors and specialists and get prescriptions for very low copays. And in South Broward, it's Memorial primary care program, and it's the same thing. You can see doctors for very, very low copays.
Okay, great. Does anyone have any final thoughts they want to share about the Affordable Care Act or healthcare coverage?
Just check for those notices coming up if you have Medicaid.
Okay, great. All right. So the next area that we're going to talk about is Social Security disability. And I'm actually going to turn the moderating over to Margaret for this section.
So, all right, Courtney, so can you tell us what are Social Security disability benefits?
Yes, so Social Security disability benefits are basically a monthly cash benefit for people who are disabled. There are actually two main disability programs administered by Social Security. So there's SSDI and SSI. The requirements, the medical requirements to be found disabled are the same for both programs, but they have some different financial requirements. So for SSDI, it's really based on your work. So you need to have worked enough and recent enough. And basically, when you're working for an employer and you're paying into Social Security taxes, you're earning work credits, and you need to earn enough work credits and have enough recent work credits to be able to get Social Security disability or SSDI. And with SSDI, your amount that you get each month will be based on your earnings. If you don't have the work history to qualify for SSDI, then the only program you could qualify for would be SSI. And SSI, the maximum amount you can get is $941 a month, but that amount actually has to be lowered for any other income that you have. And there's also some other financial rules that go along with SSI. For example, an individual can't have more than $2,000 in assets.
So how does Social Security define disability? What does it mean to be disabled?
So kind of a simple explanation is basically Social Security is looking to see if you have severe medical conditions that with treatment prevent you from being able to do any job. So any job out there that exists is what you have to show you can't do. And there are some additional requirements. One thing that they look at is, are you able to earn what they consider or what they call substantial gainful activity? And so that's basically an amount that changes each year. This year it is $1,470 gross per month. So if you're able to work and earn more than that amount, you wouldn't be disabled under their rules. They also look at conditions that have lasted or are expected to last at least 12 months or result in death. So, if you sprain your ankle, but it's going to be better in 2 months, then that's probably not a condition that would qualify for Social Security disability benefits.
So if somebody is applying for Social Security disability or SSI, what type of evidence does Social Security consider when they're deciding whether or not you're disabled?
So Social Security is going to look at your testimony, the forms you submit, your work history, your age. It could be your school records. It could be, maybe comments from your family members who know you well. But really, the biggest thing that is going to be considered is your medical records. So it's very important that you have objective proof in your medical records about all the problems you say you have and everything you say keeps you from working. That really needs to show up in your medical records. And they want to see that you're getting consistent treatment for all of those medical conditions. You're going to the appropriate specialist. So I always recommend to people that it's very important that every time you go to see your doctor, you actually tell them about all of the problems you're having, if you're having any side effects, all of those issues. You really need to tell them that every single time. Even if you think, well, I've told my doctor this before, I've been seeing him for 2 years, he knows, I don't really need to tell him every time. When you're applying for Social Security disability benefits, it's important that you tell them every single time so it keeps showing up in those medical records. Because if it's not written in those medical records, then it might not get as much consideration.
So how does somebody apply for Social Security disability?
So there's a couple different ways that you can apply. The first thing that is important to remember is that there are actually different applications for SSDI and SSI. So, if you apply for SSDI, that does not mean that you've applied for SSI. You actually have to still submit a separate SSI application. For SSDI, you can apply online at Social Security's website, ssa.gov. Interestingly, you actually cannot complete a full SSI application online right now. There is an option within the SSDI online application to say that you want to apply for SSI, and then they should send you an SSI application, but you still need to actually complete that application. If you can't apply online, then there are paper applications. You can call your local Social Security office and they can set up a phone appointment to help you with the application. Or if you go to your local Social Security application, or I'm sorry, office, they will actually help you with that application on, in the office. So you can just go in there, they'll help you get everything filled out and they'll have the paperwork right there. There is another new option for SSI. They have a protective filing tool that you can find online. So you can basically put in your information saying that you want to apply. And as long as you actually submit your application, that's supposed to be considered, your date of application, and Social Security is supposed to kind of reach out to you to get that application submitted.
So if someone applies, are they necessarily going to get accepted? Are they going to get the benefits, or is it sometimes a little challenging?
Well, it can be quite a long process for some people, unfortunately. So basically what happens is when you submit your application, as long as you kind of get past, the threshold issues of, meeting the citizenship requirements, you're not earning too much, those types of things, they're going to send your application in Florida to a state agency called DDS, who is going to get all your medical records. They're going to review them. A doctor is going to make a decision, and they're going to decide, are you disabled or not? Now, there are pretty significant backlogs with DDS right now. So it is taking 6 months, maybe even a year or more to actually get your first decision. Unfortunately, it's really taking a long time right now. So when they make a decision, they will send you a letter in the mail letting you know whether they think you're disabled. If you do get denied, you have 60 days to file an appeal. And your first appeal is called a request for reconsideration. You can file that online on Social Security's website or go to your local office for assistance. And once you submit that appeal, basically it's going to go back to DDS and a new person is going to make a new decision. You'll get another letter in the mail. If you get another denial, then again, you have 60 days to file another appeal. That appeal is actually going to be to have a hearing with an administrative law judge. We are actually seeing those get a little scheduled faster than they used to. So I'm seeing those get scheduled in about 6 months or so from after you submit the appeal, whereas it used to be close to 2 years. So they have gotten a little faster there. And so once you have your hearing with the judge will send you a written decision. If you get denied again, you again have 60 days and you can file an appeal with the appeals council who will review that decision. That's your last appeal within the agency. If you were to lose there, you could file an appeal in federal court. So it can be a long process and it can be frustrating for people, but it's really important that you get those appeals in within the 60 days so that, you can keep your application going instead of having to start all the way from the beginning again.
So
Okay.
can people get back pay for the time their application was pending?
Yes, they can. So with SSI, you can actually only get back pay back to your date of application. So it is very important that if you are interested in applying for SSI, that you get your application in right away, because if you wait, you may be losing out on back pay. With SSDI, you can get back pay back to about a year before the date of your application, as long as you prove you're disabled that far. And I should have mentioned earlier, I do typically recommend that people apply for both SSDI and SSI. unless you're very clearly, over assets or something for SSI. I would recommend that you go ahead and apply for both just to make sure you have your bases covered, in case you actually don't end up having the work credits, you've got your application for SSI in. There's also a weird quirk with SSDI where they have a 5-month waiting period. So the first 5 months that you are considered disabled for SSDI, you actually cannot get an SSDI check. But if you meet the financial requirements, you can get an SSI check, but you have to have applied for it. So I would recommend that you go ahead and apply for both.
So one other question, if you qualify for SSI or SSDI, do you automatically get health coverage?
So with SSI, you will get Medicaid right away. With SSDI, you will get Medicare, but it's 24 months after your entitlement begins. So after that 5-month waiting period.
So yeah, in the meantime, anybody who's waiting to get those Medicare benefits, they may qualify for other types of health coverage, can't they?
Right. So, the SSDI income might be enough that maybe they qualify for that premium tax credit assistance through the Affordable Care Act. So that may be a good option for people.
Great, thank you.
Quick question.
Sure.
Do you help people? Do you help to do the appeal?
So
Because I have a client that she came and she received the second appeal, the second deny. So she won appeal, but I don't have the contact person who can help her.
right. So at Coast to Coast Legal Aid, we actually primarily focus on what we call cessation cases. So what that is people who are actually getting SSDI or SSI, Social Security reviews their case roughly every 2 to 3 years to see if they are still disabled. And sometimes Social Security decides, nope, you are ready to go back to work and tries to stop their benefits. When that happens, if people file their appeal within 10 days, they can actually keep getting their benefits. So there's no back pay award. So our agency, we really focus on those cases because there isn't that back pay award. For people who are trying to get benefits, private attorneys will actually take those cases on a contingency basis. So if they win the case, then they get a portion of the back pay. And if they, don't win the case, then they usually don't charge them. So here at Coast to Coast, we usually don't do, appeals for people trying to get benefits unless they are Ryan White certified, because we have a special grant for that. So what I would say is there are many private attorneys who handle Social Security cases who might be willing to help them with that, or they can go to their local Social Security office and the Social Security workers there will actually help them do the appeal.
And so I want to mention that anybody who wants assistance, legal advice, or wants to see if we can represent them in any type of appeal can contact our intake paralegal, Manuela Felix. Her number is 954-736-2490. You can also apply online on our website.
Could you repeat the last name? Manuela?
Felix.
Felix, thank you.
Okay, great. So I think that is all the information we were going to cover today. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. So Margaret already mentioned how people can reach us in the each unit. Bill, do you just want to tell people how they can reach you?
Sure, you can call the area agency on aging of Broward County at our helpline, which is open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that's at 954-745-9779. That's 954-745-9779, or you can visit adrcbroward.org and you can see resources that we provide and assistance and information, and also send us an email if you're looking for more information.
Okay, great. And how can people reach Hispanic Unity?
They can call us at 954-964-8884. That's the community support line. And then they can, find us on our website, www.hispaniculunity.org. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, great. So for the attorneys out there, I will mention, we currently have CLE pending. So if that comes in, we will post it in the chat. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I hope you found this information helpful.
Thank you very much. Have a nice one.
Thank you. Have a good day now.